Hello, Jim 12's here again, and today is the 26th of February 2026, and today I'm going to reflect on artificial intelligence. Now, before I get going, some housekeeping. If you happen to be challenged or interested in these reflections, please consider a like and a comment and a difficult question. That would be fantastic. And consider subscribing. That would be great fun. These reflections are based on my new book, While We Were Sleeping, which is available on Amazon anywhere. So, without more ado, artificial intelligence, AI. My first thought is, we're aware that there's a big debate about the pros and cons of AI, but how deeply do we think about it? I suspect that a lot of us, including me, allow the debate to go on around us, but we don't really want to engage because we don't really know enough about it, do we? Therefore, we're not qualified, and therefore we don't. I think that's how I sum up the debate. Secondly, flowing from that, I think that all of us really instinctively want to be normal. We want to be like everybody else in our community. We want to fit in. And very few of us want to be an outlier or somebody who's a disruptor or a complainer or a conspiracy theorist. We want to be normal. And if you think about that and AI, then when we talk about the positives of AI, we're all happy, aren't we? It's fantastic. The breakthroughs that AI can bring to medicine, for example, and so many other aspects of life, we're really happy. But if we start talking about the negatives of AI, we get labelled depressing. We get labelled looking for trouble. Why do you have to be so negative? Come on, look at all the positives. So I think that colours our debate. Consider the term transhumanism. Doesn't often get used, does it? But if you think back a few decades, Professor Graham Clark came up with the cochlear implant to give hearing, real hearing, to those completely deaf with a electronic implant in their brain. And what a breakthrough that is. And now they're talking about a similar implant for people blind. Wow, that is fantastic, don't you think? The other side of the coin, think about the Olympics of various generations and the term performance enhancing drugs. So do we recognize somebody as being a world champion if they're not? What is the natural human being and what isn't? Really hard to define and differentiate, but all this is in the realms of transhumanism, where humans morph into my fourth point, into cyborgs. And there's a link below which I highly commend to you on cyborgs. But if you think about a cyborg and the philosophy behind a part biology, part technology evolution of mankind, it's all predicated on the idea that there is no God, that God is dead, and we are striving for immortality, as in we can replace the bits of our body that break forever. But thousands of years ago, God already provided a doorway to immortality, and his name is Jesus. So that really flies against my worldview. I wouldn't be saying all biological, technological assistance to the human body, replacement hips, for example, cochlear implant, no, they're good. But don't forget the philosophy that's behind the push. Let's consider a cashless society and all the ways of persuading us to part with our cash. And one thing I learnt today was the idea that if we have a cashless society, we can have less robberies because there won't be any cash to pinch. Therefore, there won't be any hold-ups in the corner store because the corner store won't have any cash. So cash no longer becomes, what's the word? Anonymous. That's it. It is actually always connected to you or somebody else or a bank or the government. So cashless society is so easy. You don't have to worry about change. You don't have to worry about calculating how much to give the customer in change because we don't have to think, do we? So it's so convenient. What about the social credit system, as in China particularly, but not exclusively, where loyalty builds up your credit score, where the higher your score, the more privileged you are in society. Have you noticed in recent years, I would say I've noticed, everything we do, we get invited to rate the retailer, rate the service we had when we made an inquiry, rate a product. We do it all the time, don't we? We're scoring that product, which is an ideal stepping stone for the social credit system, isn't it? Where we can rate the performance of our Uber driver. See link below. Fascinating stuff. What about the QR code that took its hold on the world in the COVID era? And basically, that wouldn't exist. That wouldn't have taken traction if it weren't for a consumer society where we're buying something, getting a service, and using our mobile phone. The two, consumerism boom, if you like, and the mobile phone go hand in hand with the ubiquity of the QR code. Number 8 in my reflection, what about paying for things by our face? And yes, in China you can walk up to a dispensing fridge in a train station and you simply dial in which soda water you want and you look into the camera and you pay just by looking. So that's not a cashless society alone, but it's also, you don't even have to use your QR code. You just have to use your face because the system knows every face and can then deduct it from your account. It's been said, number 9, that this social credit system is actually creating a more harmonious society. If you think about it, everybody who does something antisocial gets points taken off and they get blacklisted, which arguably dates back to the Western world's credit rating system whereby you wouldn't be able to get a home loan unless you had a good credit rating. So maybe it's not just the Chinese and their social credit system that we should look at, but the origins of our credit system and its application. Anyway, I digress. So is society becoming more harmonious and everybody now conforms in society because nobody wants to lose their credits? And as I said before, if there's no cash to be pinched from the local store because you pay by your face, then there'll be no more crime. Really? So what are the downsides of a society with no crime? As if we're all turning into robots, with or without the technology, because we dare not think a negative thought, because that's going to get in some way or other reflected in our credit score. So yes, it's already running billions of people in China, but to what degree is it running our lives already, even though it's not admitted that we have a social credit system? On my trip last year to the Northern Territory, I was really impacted by the sight of new cameras being installed on every street lamppost in Northern Territory towns. Oh yes, and the speakers associated with those cameras. And what's it for? So that the police can target, because they know exactly who's doing what at what point in the town. That's all for our safety. Anyway, I'll leave you with those thoughts on AI. Have a look at my article in the Daily Declaration which accompanies this, and have a consideration, having a look at While We Were Sleeping, a wake-up call for all Christians. Bye for now. See you next time.